Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole, the 4th District of Oklahoma, and this is another one of our weekly chats. This has been a pretty mixed bag for a week. I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's talk about the good first. We finally got a major agreement, the National Defense Authorization Act on defense. That is extraordinarily important. We had an announcement that the Speaker and the President had come to agreement on the USMCA, that is the great trade deal between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So that will probably be introduced next week and should pass the House. Will pass sometime early next year in the United States Senate. That's a big win for American business and certainly for agriculture, including Oklahoma agriculture. And we're making actually pretty good progress on the appropriations bills. They're still working through them, but a number of them are done. They're not ready for passage, and probably, frankly, we're going to have to arrive at an agreement of all things before any of them are passed. But I'm hopeful this weekend will really be make or break in terms of those negotiations. Now let's talk about the bad. The bad's impeachment, and the Democrats have made their decision. They will pass out of the Judiciary Committee this week articles of impeachment. That'll be dealt with next week. I suspect, given the size of the Democratic majority, it'll pass. Then it'll go to the Senate, where it will quickly die. There's just simply not the support in either the country or the Senate for this. This is really a very partisan-driven exercise that's divided the country with no hope of success in the Senate. We're less than a year away from the election. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about it. The American people can make the final decision on all this at the polls, and that's the way it should have been handled, I think, all along. It's just simply not sufficient evidence here, nor is the offense accused, which has not been proven, nearly rise to the level of removing a sitting president from office, particularly when the American people have an opportunity to do just that if they choose to do so in next year's elections. Finally, the ugly. We just had a wonderful opportunity to pass a bipartisan bill that would have lowered drug prices for everybody. It's called H.R. 19. It was the Republican alternative to a Democratic plan that actually our own Congressional Budget Office tells us will lead to fewer cures. And the same thing, the National Economic Advisors have advised the president the same thing. Many professional groups have said the same thing. Democratic price control plan will basically stifle ingenuity and creativity in the American biotech industry. That's a bad thing. Again, we had an opportunity in H.R. 19 to do something that we could have done together. These are 30, 40 measures all put in a single bill that Republicans and Democrats agree on. In many cases have already voted out of the Energy and Commerce Committee. That's the way to go. The bill that we passed instead not only was a bad bill, it's going absolutely nowhere in the United States Senate. The president has issued a veto threat. So it's really a wasted exercise, other than it's an attempt, I think, by the Speaker and the Democratic majority to score political points. Look, I'm a big believer. You work on the things that you can actually pass. You don't keep putting things on the floor that have absolutely no chance of becoming law. I've seen both parties do it in my time, but the productive way is to sit down and come to compromise. That's what we did on the USMCA bill. That's what we did on the National Defense Authorization Act. That's what we're trying to do, and I think we'll successfully do on the appropriations bill. So there's a way to get things done for the American people, and then there are partisan things like impeachment or this H.R. 3 drug pricing bill that you can pass through one chamber, but you can never get through the other, and you'll never get a presidential signature for. We ought to focus again on the things we can get done. Congress did a little bit of that this week, but until we get impeachment out of the way, it's going to make things tougher to go forward. So we have a week to go. Hopefully it'll be a good and productive week next week, but I suspect we'll also see impeachment, and that's just going to continue the divisions in the country. There's not sufficient votes to remove the president, nor should there be. So stay tuned, and we'll keep working at things. Hope things get a little bit better next week.